I told you. I fucking told you so. I was telling anyone who would listen that Trump was a bad choice during the primary. Any of those candidates could have beaten Hillary and would have been more supportive of gun rights. A wet bag of sand could have beaten Hillary. We nominated like the one person with the least chance of beating her out of 17 more qualified candidates, and she still almost beat him. But you wanted 4D tiddlywinks. So we got, I like taking the guns first, and I have a pen and a phone. When the NRA encouraged Trump to ban bump stocks, he whipped out his royal pen and decreed them banned. And many of you didn't give a shit about bump stocks because, well, you thought they were a stupid gimmick. But now this. From Reason Magazine's online edition, a new lawsuit against the manufacturers of guns used in the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting argues that AR-15 style rifles are illegal because they are compatible with bump stocks, which increases their rate of fire. The argument presented in the suit is pretty simple. The Trump administration declared that bump stocks are machine guns because they increase the rate of fire of a rifle to the same as a machine gun. Therefore, any gun that works with a bump stock or could somehow be made to fire rapidly is also a machine gun because the NFA definition of machine gun includes anything that can be readily restored to work like a machine gun. So that means all semi-automatic rifles, pistols, and shotguns, and it probably even means double-action revolvers. If this suit is successful, almost every gun owner in the country could become a felon overnight. The Crown, in its infinite benevolence, might see fit to allow a period of amnesty to dispose of these illegal machine guns. If we're really extra lucky, it might even deign to allow us to seek the Crown's pleasure for the privilege to pay a $200 transfer on our own property to ourselves and register these squirrel guns as machine guns. Gee, that'd be swell, mister. Now, it's probably not very likely that this suit will be successful, and that's partly due to the shitty way that the Trump administration enacted the decree against bump stocks in the first place. Because the BATFE gave several previous opinions that advised they believe bump stocks were perfectly legal, so it will be difficult to prove within the narrow scope of this case that manufacturers knew that their product was illegal. But this suit could be successful, and other suits could be filed with similar reasoning. Or a future administration could simply expand the opinion. As it currently sits, the convoluted logic that it took to apply the clearly worded NFA definition to bump stocks necessarily includes virtually any semi-auto or double-action firearm. And the BATFE has admitted as much. Individuals wishing to replicate the effects of bump stock type devices could also use rubber bands, belt loops, or otherwise train their trigger finger to fire more rapidly. On the other hand, it's not likely that this suit can help gun rights at all if it fails. I'm not a lawyer, but wouldn't it be a fairly narrow ruling? If the court rules against the plaintiffs, that just means that the manufacturers named in the suit didn't intentionally manufacture illegal machine guns. Not that the Trump administration was wrong or that the NFA was unconstitutional. So what is there to do about it? Well, if you're the kind of guy who would turn your guns in, may as well sell them now so you can at least get something out of them. If you're inclined to keep them, maybe you would be better off selling them too and using that money to donate to worthy gun rights groups. The NRA is dying a long-deserved death right now. They were never interested in winning the fight. They were getting rich by fighting gun control, but if they ever actually won, they would have been out of business. The NRA existed to earn money, help industry partners sell more guns, and get politicians elected if they play ball. But they never wanted to win. If they had, they would have behaved like any other activist organization and pushed the extremes so they could shift the Overton window. If any other legit gun rights group had the budget the NRA did, they would have been pushing to repeal the McClure Amendment, pressing for Congress to formally recognize that full faith and credit applies to carry permits, while simultaneously pushing related cases through the courts, advocating for private citizens to be able to use NICS, and absolutely wading through local bans with a machete in courts using the Heller and McDonald's precedents. Not to say that the NRA hasn't done anything useful, of course. They were instrumental in getting those Heller and McDonald rulings in the first place. But they have always been slow-moving and reasonable so as to get the largest funding base possible. They've always been more interested in their own financial gain than in ending any battles for gun rights. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum, even encourage the more critical and dissident views. That gives people the sense that there's free thinking going on, while all the time the presuppositions of the system are being reinforced by the limits put on the range of the debate. Noam Chomsky. That perfectly sums up what the NRA has been doing. Keep us debating about whether mental health episodes should show up in a NICS check, because the actual radical thing gun rights groups should be talking about is how people who are too much of a threat to have access to guns also shouldn't be roaming around with access to cars and bats and pool chemicals and stabby things. If they are violent criminals or just sick people who need help, they should be locked up until we are confident they can be allowed to reintegrate to society. Felons shouldn't be banned from guns, voting, or any other right, and they shouldn't be treated as second-class citizens. If they're so dangerous that they can't get a good job or buy a gun, then you shouldn't have let them out. So, good riddance to the NRA. But they really were a fundraising powerhouse, and now we need to turn it up to 11 to make up the difference left in their absence. I want to do my part to help with this, but I'm not a YouTube superstar like that bearded tranny lover or that old fart who smokes pots in his backyard. I also don't have much money to donate to important causes myself, but I can use my modest little soapbox to encourage you folks to donate. So I'm going to donate the profit from each t-shirt on my Teespring store to the gun charity of your choosing for at least the remainder of July. Buy a shirt, email your proof of purchase to choppingblocktests@gmail.com, and let me know if you want the profit donated to the GOA, SAF, FPC, or your local civil defense league. Or just send them a check or PayPal yourself. Or donate your time. But get out there and do something. Things are not going to get any easier, and we are not going to win these next fights by voting for the right politician. All politicians are scum, and the current choices at a national level are especially so. Let's get ready for a political knife fight.